you will see the original Emancipation Proclamation by which our great President Abraham Lincoln ordered that the slaves should be freed of their bondage.
Bondage in this context refers to slavery. It can also refer to indentured servitude, where someone agreed to work for someone for a period of time by some contract, usually an unfair contract. Can also refer to being a peasant or a serf back in feudal times when people were, we say, bound to the land, which means that they were forced to stay on some big farm somewhere. You can also have a bond for so you don't go to jail. If someone is arrested, they may have to post bond. It means they give some money to the legal system so they don't have to go to jail.
And I certainly mean to include more of our black people. Now, I don't know how to do it, and I don't want to get into it from the hip with compulsory voting.
From the hip, that refers to doing something without careful aim or consideration. Originally, it comes from shooting from the hip, where someone would point the gun without really aiming very well. And usually the results weren't very good. So if somebody does something from the hip, it means they're attempting to do something without proper preparation.
And it was a matter of survival back in the old times in the Wild West, when people didn't have time or couldn't afford to pull out their guns and aim, right? Because you could be killed. So instead they just used it and shoot it from their hips. That would save time.
That's the idea, but usually shooting from the hip was a sign of someone that was not very good.
But we ask our young men we require them by law to all go and register for the draft.
Draft refers to when the government demands the young men join the army. During the First World War, during the Second World War, and also during the Vietnam War, young men were drafted to join the army. That means they didn't have a choice about whether they were going to become soldiers or not. They put their names into a big jar, they pulled out their names, and if your name came up, then you were forced to become a soldier.
It was like a lottery. You would get a number, right?
It was a lottery, yes. And then later, when they were using large numbers, they wouldn't necessarily pull someone's specific name. They would oftentimes draft them by their birthday. Typically, I think it was by their birthday.
Okay, so it's related to pull something, and that's why you said animals that pull heavy loads are called draft animals, like draft horses, pull carriages.
That's right. So you have a draft animal. You can also have a bank draft, which is similar to a check, where it's a demand to pull money out of the bank.
The idea is the verb would be draw. You draw money out of the bank.
You can also draw money out of the bank. Draft and draw basically mean the same thing. You can also draft a proposal or write a first draft. In this case, the idea is similar, where you're pulling the ideas out of your head and you're writing them down on a piece of paper.
And you can have a draft beer.
You can have a draft beer. The idea is the beer is being pulled out of the keg.
That's all for today. Tom Taylor is an ESL tutor. He teaches English in the United States and outside, all over the world using Skype. He can be reached at his website, which is
ESL-fullsteamahead.com.
click on this link and check out his website and email with questions. Thank you, Tom, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.